Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you had a good day playing around with your activity that you made yesterday. We call them TACtivity. You must be wondering about the word. Tactile activity is what is why we call them TACtivities. Quite often what you make models that we are exposed to in school with science models and so on end up being static models, right? Where say, suppose you're studying habitat, people make a big chartboard or a thermocol piece, and then they put some cotton on it and say that that's snow and put some animals. So that's what we call a static model, something that's not very interesting. There aren't that many things that you can change there and that demonstrate the scientific principle. There's almost no variables other than the material itself. So that tells you why those aren't very interesting activities. Quite often we get submissions, even in Raman Awards, where someone has just made a detector kind of thing, placed a detector, something goes by, a sound is made. Now, what can you change there other than having the detector or no detector, right? So there aren't that many variables or that many interesting things to change when you have static models apart from the materials itself. But when you have a dynamic model, like you did yesterday with the water spray, there are potentially lots of things to change, right? And those are the things that we will talk about, and we will also demonstrate what kind of impact they have on your activity. But before we do that, we'll briefly go over yesterday's assignment. Lots of interesting responses. We had almost 20 or 22 responses. So only about half of the people who attended actually gave a response. But that itself is not bad. We would encourage all of you to, of course, participate and fill out the forms that come every day. There's only 3 or 4 questions. You shouldn't take more than 15-20 minutes doing it. But I hope you enjoy doing it, and that's why you do it, not because we are asking you to do it. Okay, so that should be the approach that you take to anything that you do, right? In school, we are forced to do homework, we are forced to give exams, but can we make learning fun? Can we make learning engaging? Can we learn while doing an assessment rather than the assessment being something of what you have learned prior? Can the assessment itself make you learn something? So that's exactly how these questions are being framed. That's kind of the philosophy that we follow. Right? If you do things with your hands, you make things, you play around with them, then automatically you learn things about science in a fun and engaging way. Okay, so a lot of interesting answers for the names of the variables that we asked you for. The variable that you can change, what do you call it? The variable that gets affected by that change, what do you call it? And the variables that you do not change, what do you call it? So people have given interesting options like changeable, effect variable, stiff variable. Some of you, about half of you, have actually given examples of variables in that. We didn't ask you to give examples of variables. We very specifically said, what would you name a variable which can be changed? What would you name a variable which can be measured or which is affected by that change? And what would you name a variable that you keep constant? Yeah. So some of you have given examples, which is not what we asked for. So some of the names that have come up, as I said, one of them is fluid variables, conflicting variables, standard variables. Some of the flexible variables, influenced variables, persistent variables. So very interesting use of adjectives that you've used. I'll read out a couple of other responses. So we had Avi, who said that he's called them direct variable, indirect variable, and dormant variables. Interesting and creative set of names. And then when we look at the what all can be changed when we think of a window, he's given the options of the size of the window, the dimensions of the space between the grills. So he's just given 2 independent variables there. In a story, he said the name of characters and the place of the occurrence. And for roles of different people, he says grandma does the knitting, she can cook instead. My sister sets the table for dinner, she can wash clothes instead. So he's trying to talk about the roles they play and the swap that they can do. And then he's also said, if we change the size of the window, the things we can view through it would change as well. So that is his talking about an independent variable, which is the size of the window. And when we view things through it, would change as well. So maybe the amount of space you're seeing or the number of trees that you're viewing, etc., will change based on the size of the window. So that is his dependent variable, the variable that he's measuring. So whenever you guys think about variables in a science experiment, always try and think of not only here the view that you're seeing is kind of subjective. Try and quantify it in some way. Is it the angle or the amount of things that you can see, or the number of trees, or a bigger window means more light, whatever it is, something that you can actually measure. And that's how you should be thinking of variables when you're doing these experiments, right? We had another, I'm just picking, almost all the responses were very interesting. I'm just randomly choosing a couple from yesterday. Aditya Chauhan said that he's called that first variable independent variable, the second one a dependent variable, and the third one a constant variable. So he's almost got the technical names also correct. We'll come back to that in a second. But when we are talking about these variables, for the window, he has said you can change the glass, you can change the design, you can change the size, you can change the material. So he's talked of 4 variables here for changing of the window. When it comes to the story, you can change characters, names, title of the story, topic, mood, language. Exactly. So as you can see, there's lots of things that you can change in the story as well. What about the length of a story? What about, you've already talked about language. What about whether you have as you said, different characters or characters playing different roles, so on and so forth. So whether the book has, what's the format of the story? Does it have a book that has an introduction followed by something, or is it, we don't have a content list or whatever it is? You can change a lot of things. So that's why this is kind of an open-ended question where all of your creativity comes in answering them. And a role people can have at home. He's mentioned father can cook, mother can drive me to school. So I think he's probably talking of a shift in roles based on his other answers. He's also talked about increasing the size of the window, and then you get more amount of air or more amount of sunlight will enter the room. So that's something that can be measured, right? Maybe you can keep a sensor there that tells you how bright the room is. And as you increase the size of the window, maybe that sensor will tell you that today the light is more in your room. So is there a correlation between the size and the sunlight inside the room? And you can make those measurements, right? So there you have an independent variable and a dependent variable being measured. In the story, he says, if we change the mood of a story, like if we change a horror story, the story of a brave person, then the reader person will get more motivated. So this is, again, we're talking more about emotions here, right? When we're talking about stories, something that you really cannot always quantify. Some things you can. I write a 100-page book story versus a 200-page story. So that's an amount I write. I can vary that. So that's very quantifiable. But here, to change the mood of a story, so I'm changing the type, say from a horror to a kind of a drama of bravery or whatever. Then he's saying the motivation levels of the person also changes. Something that you have to probably do through a survey, or I don't know how you'll measure it, but it's still a very interesting way. What becomes the mood of the person based on the theme of the novel or the story that they're reading. So that's interesting response. And then of course he says, if father can cook, it will be helpful for mother and the work will be more productive in less time. So that's of course, we always hope that that's happening at home, where people are not pigeonholing jobs based on gender, and that all of you also should enjoy working in the kitchen, should enjoy playing in the field, should enjoy gardening, should enjoy knitting, or at least be exposed to it. Enjoying it is, of course, a personal choice, but that's good to see that there's some discussion here on gender roles also happening through the answers. So you can go on in that social angle and talk about those aspects as well. So very, very interesting responses to the questions, and that's why we found that these open-ended questions lead to a lot of discussion. Lakshmi, anything in the chat box so far? Nothing, right? Yeah. Okay. We can you change the settings to such that these guys can unmute themselves, or I'll do it.
We have actually allowed them to unmute themselves.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is specifically about the activity. So does anyone have any questions regarding the homework yesterday? Oh, I forgot to give the official names. So the first set of variables are called what you actually change in an experiment. As Aditya mentioned, they are called independent variables. Okay, the variables that get affected by that independent variable, or they need not get affected by it, but it is what you measure in an experiment. That is called a dependent variable. Okay, independent is what you change, dependent is what you are measuring. And the last one that you're leaving constant, variables that you leave constant for a particular scenario, those are called control variables. So we're not calling them constant because they can actually be changed. So constant, that's how constant is different from a variable, right? So constant is one like we talked about yesterday, how much time does the earth take to go around the sun, which is, what we define as 1 year. That is a constant. We cannot change that, okay, sitting here. But there could be something else that is a control variable. For example, in your activity of making the straw spray, you could have the length of the straw you're using is the same, but maybe you change the type of the straw, okay? Or you change the width of the straw, but the length is kept the same. That doesn't mean that the length is not a variable. The length is also a variable. You can change it in the next experiment. But for a given experiment, you keep it constant. That's why it's called a controlled variable. Okay, so just to recap this, I'll share a small, just a one slide presentation, kind of a continuation of our discussion yesterday. So just so that it kind of sits in your head a little bit. So just give me a second. So the types of variables, remember, independent variables, the variables whose values changed during an experiment. Dependent variable is values of those that are observed or measured during the experiment. And of course, you have the controlled variables. This is kept constant during that experiment. Okay, so those are your controlled variables. These are the three kinds, and let's talk about them now in the context of your activity. So can we have people in the chat window just write down what you think are the variables for the straw spray that you made? It's very useful if you interact on the chat window. We want it to be filled with your messages. Angle between the straws, someone has mentioned, very nice. The straws themselves, you mean the material of the straws or the fact that there are straws at all? So by saying straws, it doesn't really tell me what the variable that you're talking about, right? So it has to be something about the straw. Material of the straw, length of the straw, width of the straw, angle of the straw, right? Length of straw, amount of water taken. Yeah, so there you're talking about length of the straw versus amount of water taken. So that becomes something that you measure. That is a dependent variable. What you're actually changing, length of the straw, independent variable. So hope you're getting that kind of idea, right? What about the foam piece? Number of straws, material of the straw, amount of water, size of foam piece. What about piece of thermocol? Are you saying that you're talking just about the material of the foam? So you replace it with a thermocol, but then what do you measure with it? Yeah. Okay, so some good answers, interesting answers. Okay. I'm going to read out a few variables. You have to tell me what you think about them. Are they independent variable or dependent variable? Okay. Position of the straws. What is your answer? The position of the straws. Is it an independent variable or a dependent variable? Dependent. Few of you have said independent, but quite a few of you are saying dependent. That means we cannot change the position of the straws ourselves, is it? It's changed due to something else. The answer is it is an independent variable. I can change the position of the straw as I want, right? So it is an independent variable and I can play around with it to measure something else, okay? Now the second one I'm talking about, the volume of water thrown out in one exhale. The amount of water or the volume of water thrown out in one exhale. Is that a dependent variable or an independent variable? How much water is thrown out in one exhale? Yeah, depends on the amount of force applied. So that gives you an answer, right? Force applied independent, amount of water thrown out dependent. Right? So again, I think some of you have not got it clear in your head. When I'm saying the amount of water thrown out, so I'm measuring something, right? Otherwise, how do I know the amount of water thrown out? As soon as you're measuring something, that is a dependent variable. As soon as it's something that you can change in the experiment to measure that dependent variable, it's an independent variable. So length of straw, angle of straw, force with which you blow, etc. Independent variable. Amount of water thrown out in a single exhale, dependent variable. Something that you can measure based on doing an experiment with your activity. Okay. Someone has a doubt, they can also clarify by unmuting themselves and asking. Okay, one more. The air outlet position, is that a dependent or an independent variable? The air outlet position. Most of you are saying independent, which is encouraging. Some of you are saying dependent. So where the air outlet is, I can change that. I can cut a hole below on the straw and change where the air exits from. I can cut a hole on this straw and I can change where the exit. It's up to me. It's something I can change. So that is an independent variable. Okay. What about the diameter of the straw? Only one dependent answer so far. Rest are all saying independent. So that's right. It is an independent. The diameter of the straw, I can use a different straw, right? Which has a different diameter. So that's an independent variable. It's not something that I can, that I do something with the experiment and that straw changes, or I can measure the diameter based on something that I do with the experiment itself. I can, of course, buy a different straw which has a different diameter. I can measure it, of course, but for that particular experiment, I have a straw with a larger or a smaller diameter, independent variable. Okay. Maximum distance traveled by your water spray. What is the maximum distance traveled by your spray? Yeah, most of you are saying dependent, and that's right, because that's something you'll measure. So I could blow and I could see the water going out and I can measure that. So that's my dependent variable. Independent variable for that could be, single breath blow, blow hard, blow soft. So it could be the strength with which you blow or for how long you blow. It's up to you what you choose as the independent variable there when you're trying to measure, say, the distance the water traveled. Are there any other ideas for dependent variables for this activity? Independent, there's probably lots. Angle of straw, someone mentioned. You can material of straw, diameter of straw, length, height of the water column itself. Whether I'm using water at all, I could be using soap bubbles. I could be using, try and do it with oil. Will it work with oil? So there you're changing, say, the viscosity of the liquid. So there's lots of variables for the independent variables. Dependent variables, we've talked about how much you can blow out in terms of the volume of water and how far you can blow that water out. Is there anything else that you can change with the dependent variable? So I'm asking for ideas, more ideas of dependent variables for this activity. The speed of the liquid rushing out, yeah. So in some sense connected to the amount, because the amount in one exhale, for example, if it comes out fast, that means you're able to push out more water, but that's a very good one. If you can measure the speed somehow of the spray. Any other ideas for dependent? One of them is, does the water come out at all or not? Does the spray work or not? So that's a dependent variable. Sometimes the spray doesn't work, sometimes it works. Depending on angle of straw, length of straw, how you've placed them, etc., could be the independent variable. And the dependent could be, is it working or not working? Okay, as simple as that even. Or it could be something quite complex, size of the droplets, spread of the spray at a given distance, right? So it could have some very interesting things as well. So that's the kind of area that we want you to think about when you are doing these activities. Think about the independent variables, the dependent variables, and the control variables are again one of these independent variables that are not being varied, right? So when I'm changing the length of the straw, I should also simultaneously be changing the diameter of the straw, because then we don't know which one of those changes made an impact on, say, the amount of water being blown out. So when we keep one variable constant, we call that the control variable. And it's usually an independent variable that you can keep either controlled, or you can say, I'm going to change it. And then something else that you measure, which is your dependent variable. And then there could be some universal things that are constant. The force of gravity here on Earth is more or less constant. So that we can't change. We have to lift the water up thanks to the gravity of the Earth, or the density of the water itself. We can't change that unless we put salt and make it a more dense liquid. But density of water, sacrosanct, that won't change for a given temperature and pressure, right? So things like that could be thought of as the constants, but other things, of course, are either one of these three variables. So I hope that kind of excited you a little bit, and now we can actually see what impact those variables have on your activity. And I'll pass it over now to Ashray, who will take you for the next 15-20 minutes or so through the observations of varying variables for this particular activity and the observations that you can have with it. Okay. Over to you, Ashray, but happy to take some questions before that if anyone has.
Anyone have? Did someone say something? I heard a sound.
No, if you all have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next part. If you keep on silence, then if you're silent, we'll not be able to make out.
For some reason, we always find the senior batch to be the most reticent, not wanting to talk. As we thought that the whole idea of going to school, interacting with your peers, growing up, is that you become more and more social. What happens when you go to 8th or 9th standard?
Other two sessions we have to keep the participants, we do not allow them to unmute themselves. Here we have given the chance, but we don't see anybody doing that. Ashray, I think you can start with your part now.
So sorry, where have I done? Am I visible? Yes, I am visible. Okay. So I have made some water spray model, and what I need you guys to do on the chat is to tell me if a certain variation is going to work or not. So this is the model that we had made yesterday. It's the same one that I had made yesterday. And obviously we know it works. I'm just going to demonstrate this to you, and then we can test the other ones one by one and just, write down in the chat if you think you're going to see water come out of it or no. So this is yesterday's one. Obviously it works perfectly fine. So the first thing that I have changed is the length of the first straw, or the length of the straw through which I'm going to blow. And what I want to know is, do you think that water will come out of this straw when I blow through it? So just write down in the chat and let me know if you guys think that if I blow through the straw, will water come out? Okay, most people are saying yes. All right, people are saying that yes. Now let's just see if that's true. Did you all notice anything different about this model versus this model? One thing that I noticed was that I had to blow with more force, without which water would just, rise in the second straw and, just fall back down. Yeah, Trisha, yeah, you're right. More force is needed to spray water. Gauri, you too. So yeah, so like when the length of this straw, the first straw increases, you do need to blow with more force so that the water comes out of the model. So the second variation I have is one where the diameter of the second straw is really, really big, and the diameter of the straw through which I'm going to blow is really, really tiny. So now I want you guys to write in the chat if you guys think that water is going to come out when I blow through this model. Oh, yes, someone saying more force required. It will not come up. Ashit says. Ashit, I don't know how to say your name. Yes, no. So it seems to be fairly mixed responses for now. So I'll just blow and then we can see whether water comes or not. Someone says more force will be required. So I'll try to blow harder. And Akshat Gupta says less force will be required. So let's just see, one, whether water comes out or no, and two, if more force is required or no. So I'm blowing with sort of normal force, and obviously nothing is coming out right now. Now I'll try blowing with more force. Both times, no force required. Can sorry, no matter how much force that you blow through, no water comes out. Can anyone tell me why? Why, when the second straw's diameter is bigger, that you don't see any water come? Prisha, you have the option of unmuting yourself if you want, so you can just unmute and speak. You're unable to unmute. Okay, just give me a second. Now try.
Yes, sir. So when we blow through the tinier straw, then the amount of air that passes through the straw is very less, but the
Mhm.
force required to push the water up through the straw with a bigger diameter is a lot, so we are not able to make the spray.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That's correct. That's exactly what happens. There's just a lot of force that's required to lift water up a straw that's this big. So obviously when you're blowing through a tiny hole like this one, you're not going to be able to lift any water up. So the next model that I have is one where the straw through which I'm going to blow is bent. And now in the chat, I want you guys to guess whether water is going to come out or no. So just put your responses in the chat and let me know if you guys think water is going to come out or no. She says no. Also says no. Roshni says no. Aditya says yes. Gauri says no. Dan Jacob says no. Reva says no. Harini also says no. Most people are saying no. Okay. Let's see if any water comes out when the straw through which I'm blowing is bent or no. So that was with normal force. It's not coming out. Let me try to blow harder. So I saw at least twice out of the 4 times that I blew with more force that water did come out, and the other 2 times it didn't come out. Can anyone guess what the problem is? Why do we see water not come out when the top straw is bent? Does anyone have any guess as to why it doesn't work? Those of y'all who said no were mostly right, because I did see some water come out when I blew really hard, but that was only 2 out of 4 times. So that's really not enough. Yes, Prisha. Just a second. Can you unmute?
Yes, sir. So I think that when the upper straw is bent, then the air that we're pushing in the straw is, sir, not going straight where it needs to go. It goes forward, and then when the air bends, then a lot of air is wasted, and so more force is required, but it usually does not come out.
But this part of the straw is straight. So whether this part of the straw is bent or not, the air has to come out from here only. So is it really not coming out straight? Just think about that. Because the output, the place the air is coming out is, straight. It's just bent here. So how is it that the air coming out of this point of the straw is not straight? Okay, does someone have any other answer? I think Reva, I saw your hand raised. Do you want to? I thought I kept the option for you guys to unmute. Just let me check. Hold on.
No, it is still there like that only, Yash, right? I just checked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you guys can unmute yourselves as far as I know. So if you have any answers, Reva, if you want to say something, you can.
So,
No, we
may I
can't
answer?
unmute. Yes,
So
may I
may
know
I
who's
answer?
speaking? Aditya? Yes,
So
Aditya.
Aditya.
Yes,
So
yes.
when we blow the air through the bent straw, then the air crashes, I mean वो टकराती है from the bent portion of the straw, and it slows down.
Okay. 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 So you're right. There is some turbulence that's caused at this point of the straw, and a lot of the energy is lost due to the turbulence. So when it comes out of this opening, it's unable to lift water up from the second part of the straw. Lakshmi, couple of people messaged saying they are unable to unmute themselves, even though the setting is like that. So I'm not sure what the issue is. So yeah. Okay, so I'll go to the last two models. In one model, I have an acute angle, and the other model, I have an obtuse angle. So let's look at the acute angle first. Now, in the chat, you guys just post whether you guys think that water will come out when I blow through this opening when the angle is less than 90 degrees. No. Arav also says no. Gauri says no. Akshat says no. Manogya says no. Bhavini also says no. Ashit says yes, but more pressure. So most people are saying, Tanish Garg also says no. So most people are saying no. Let's see what happens when I blow through this straw. Am I putting the right straw in? Yes, I'm putting the right straw in. Okay. So what do we see? Well, I do have to admit, I had to blow harder for water to come out of the straw, but it did come out. So Ashit Suryavanshi, you're right. Yes, but more pressure is the correct answer. Water does come out. And I think the angle that I've sort of chosen for this particular model is it's approximately 45. I basically cut a square into half. So maybe it's too, small for this to work. But if someone can do this with say 60 degree, you will be able to see sort of water come out of the model. Now, what about an obtuse angle? Do you guys think that water will come from this one? Just type in the chat. Ashit says no. Anyone else has any other answer? No, 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 no. Krish Kumar says yes. Bhavni also says yes. Vinyashri says yes, but more pressure. Okay, so the first few responses were no. The second few responses are yes. So let's see what happens when we blow when the angle is larger than 90 degrees. I want to bring the cup a little closer. So I want you guys to just observe what happens when I blow when the angle is more than 90. You guys notice that? Can anyone tell me what they saw? What happens when water come out? And actually, what did you all see? Ashit, you want to
The water
answer?
was coming out from
Water
the
was
jar.
coming out from where?
Jar.
From the cup itself. Okay, okay. But it was not coming out through the straw, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did
Sir,
anyone else see the same thing? Prisha, did you see the same thing? You've raised your hand.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. For
Ashit,
the
sorry,
same
you were
thing.
saying. Okay, okay. Ashit, I think you were trying to say something before and I cut you off in the middle. Sorry, what were you trying to say?
Sir, So the air was going directly into the next pipe. Because of that, the water was coming out.
Okay. Yes, you're right. When the angle is more than 90 degrees, and it sort of makes sense, right? As you increase this angle, these two straws start to behave like it's one straw. So the air just passes from one straw into the other. So that's why when this angle was more than 90 degrees, this is approximately like 90 plus 45. So it's like 125 or so. So am I right? 135. I'm so sorry. So yeah, like the air just passes from this straw, the first straw, into the second straw, into the container of water itself. So I just showed you guys a couple of demonstrations about, you know, what happens when your dependent variable is does water come out or no, and a bunch of independent variables, which is what happens when you increase the length, what happens when you increase the diameter. Like, I want you guys to see what will happen if the straw to which you're blowing is the fatter straw and the straw inserted in the water is a thinner straw. Why don't you guys check that at home? And then we saw what happens when the straw to which I'm blowing is bent. What will happen opposite? You guys can try that. And what happens when the angle is changed? So these are the different variations that we tried. And I showed you guys the demonstrations. You all can try different try out other independent variables and keep your dependent variable as does water come out from the model or no, and see for yourself. So I will hand the session over to Lakshmi, and yeah. Lakshmi?
Yeah, Ashray. I was just waiting if they had any questions. Anything to ask?
Yeah, do you guys have any questions? Sorry, but do you guys have any questions?
Because I remember the junior session where we had so
You
many.
can type in the chat also.
So I just hope
Yeah.
a good number of questions from seniors.
Yes, Danish.
You don't
Sir, I
hesitate.
have a doubt now. So that what we have to search for at the Google for this site.
Sorry, which one?
For ThinkTech site,
Yeah.
like you in the last class you have said that on ThinkTech site that is on Google, we there will be the messages of what at which state which material we have to take. So what we have to search for it on Google.
No, for that you'll have to, you registered through the Raman Awards website, right? So all those details are put up in the website. Please log into the website and check for the details.
So what we have to search for the website?
Raman Awards, you have not registered on that, Tanish?
Yes, ma'am.
For this boot camp, you have registered, right?
Yes.
So you should be accessible to that site also. Anything regarding the activity we just did, which Ashray was showing? If you have any questions? Okay, shall we make the next part then? We'll make the second activity today. Okay, Avi is saying something, Ashray.
When we bent the straw through which we were blowing, we bent it is an obtuse angle. What would happen if we bent it in an acute angle? Oh, I haven't tried that out. Why don't you try it and let me know, because I haven't tried that one out. That's a good question. I wonder what will happen.
So these are the things you should come up with. You know, we are showing you few things and we want you to have more and more of these kind coming up on your mind. That will make your learning also much more better. And you will be more confident when you are explaining somebody about this part. Okay, the second activity today is the pencil spinner. I guess you have the materials ready for that. For that you need a pencil. And you need the most important thing, that is the cutter, and pencil, preferably with the, it should be having an eraser at the back. And you need a board pin Can you see this? Yes. And small cardboard piece, anything from, you can just even cut from the pencil box, some piece. Yeah. So I'll be sharing the screen now and playing the video, and we'll make it together. So I can see only 4 or 5 people who have kept their videos on. Others I can't make out whether it's ready or not. Ashit, is it ready? Okay, Abhinav has turned on. Okay, thank you. You guys have the materials ready? Okay, fine. So these are the materials required. The pencil, this is okay. We can just use the piece of cardboard. And then you need the ice cream stick. And puncture also, you can try to make a hole with the scissors itself. In case you have it, you can use it. And the thumb pin. Watch this and then we shall make it. See, we have to make a V notch here on the pencil. Just after this steel cap or wherever that ends, from there you start, you leave about 2-3 mm gap and start the first notch. Like this, you'll be making about 6 to 7 notches. And the distance between them will be about 2 to 3 mm apart. I'll play this part, you watch this and then start making. Go till the level of the lead. Just be careful while making these notches. Don't make it too close. So this is how it should look when you complete it. You should be having about 6 to 7 notches up to the level of the lead. You can see the lead there. Till that part you make it. It should be a notch, V. So let's start this now. See, the pencil is here. So hold the cutter little in a slanting position and you'll get that one arm of the V. See, do it like this. Don't go straight inside the pencil. Go at an angle. See this? You have to go on taking from both the sides. Keep your video on and do it so that I can also watch and guide you in case if you are missing it out. I'm playing it once again. You can just have a look. See, you have to place the cutter in a slanting position to get the V notch. Keep trimming to make a V there. Be careful, don't break the pencil. Tanish, you have a doubt? Yes.
Ma'am, I was saying that after cutting it this much, my pencil cuts fully like this. So but
No. You have to do it slowly. Do it on the other side of the pencil. Do it
ma'am, I
slowly.
have one more pencil and I have cut it like this. And ma'am, after this step, when I cut it using the cutter, ma'am, it went like it only.
No, you have to go in an angle. Just you scrape little bit first, and then you go deeper.
Okay, ma'am.
You chip off in the starting part, and then go in a slanting position. Use your cutter like a seesaw, hacksaw, and try to do that.
Yeah, ma'am. I had a doubt.
Yes, Abhinav.
Ma'am, how many of these pockets do we need to cut? I have done 5. Would that be sufficient?
You'll have to try it out. At least 6 to 7.
Okay, ma'am.
2 more.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you show me? Abhinav, can you just show me your V notches on the pencil? Yeah. Okay. How about Prisha, Vinyashri? Are you able to get the notches? You're still in 1. Okay. How many over, Vinyashri? 7 over? Just show me on the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's too far. I said 2 mm gap between the notches.
I will try on the other side.
Try on the other side.
Okay.
Okay, it should look like this. See here. I've used only half of it. What about others? I'm not able to see. Avi, are you getting it?
Yes, ma'am, I'm doing it.
How many over are we?
Ma'am, 3.
Vinyashri, have a look at this. It's closely spaced, just 2 to 3 mm gap between each notch.
Ma'am,
Yes, Tanish?
ma'am, is this now right?
Ma'am, is this right?
Wait 1 second. I'm not able to see. Yeah, it's correct.
Okay.
Do it fast. You need to make another 5 more. Yes, Yukti? I'm not able to see. Wait.
Ma'am, is it okay?
No, just hold it properly. I'm just able to see only the, why is it black? Is it the lead visible or hold it in a horizontal position? I'm not able to see. Go back, go a little back. Are you able to see the notches like this? Can you see mine?
Yes, ma'am.
See like this? I'm not able to make out from yours the black spots. Is it the notch or the lead? Yes, Bhaskar.
Can you please check?
Sorry?
Can you please check?
I'm just checking. I'm not able to make out. It's not very big. I think you made a very small ones. You'll have to increase the size a bit, Bhaskar.
Okay, ma'am.
Just increase, widen the, V is like this, right? So you have made it very much like this. So little bit you have to widen that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
See mine.
Do it fast and we'll have to try it, play with it also. Who was that? Who said it's ready?
Ma'am, I'm
Bhavini. Bhavini, it's not in an order, okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Prisha is showing 1 second. Yep, Prisha. Let it be identical ones and try to make the similar kind for the other 3 also. See, the notch has to go like this, then you're leaving some gap, then again notch, then gap, then notch, gap, like this. So if you make very small one like this, it will be difficult. This part, that lead should be visible. So go till that depth. If it is little wide also fine, but it should not be like this. Little gap should be maintained here, at least 2 mm.
Ma'am, is this okay?
1 second. Who was that?
Ihan Araf.
I'm not able to see it. You spaced it far. See, the gap between 1 and 2 is very much. See there? Turn it towards your side, Ihan. Let it be equally spaced. See here? Can you see this?
Okay.
See, I'm playing the next part. Just watch this. Whoever has completed can try this out. Once the notches are over, next you take out that small cardboard sheet, cut a rectangular slot shape of 4 centimeter by 1.5 centimeter. Don't worry about this square part. You can even make a square 2 by 2 centimeters. I have taken the cardboard piece. So this is about 4 centimeter by 1.5 centimeters. On this cardboard, you draw the 2 diagonals to mark the center of that. Draw the 2 diagonals and make a hole in the center. See this? Two diagonals to get the center and make a hole there.
Ma'am, can we color instead of pasting it on the cardboard, can we color it directly on the
Not
cardboard?
required. You just use the cardboard. Coloring and all you can do later.
Sure.
Will not waste time on that. Already, many of them are still on the launch pad.
Sorry.
Don't worry about this. It's just a cardboard. The coloring you can do it later, definitely.
Sure, ma'am.
To see how to use this. So the cardboard piece, what you made ready, pierce the pin at the back of the pencil and use your ice cream stick to move through the notches and see what happens. That completes the activity. So this will take some time for you to get the activity running. So just try. See, you just have to take the pin, pass it through this cardboard, and then hold it in your hand. See? Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
As I'm moving faster and faster, you see any change there? Keep trying, and at one position, you start getting that to move. Abhinav, can you just show me? Could you try this?
Yes, ma'am.
Happening?
It's not spinning, ma'am.
So how are you holding it? Are you holding the pencil loose, tight? Try changing those things and move the ice cream stick over that. So you should try out. Should I hold here? Should I hold here? Hold tight.
I see, ma'am. Yeah.
All the activities we are making, you have to always think of the same what we discussed till now, the variables, dependent, independent ones. So keep thinking on those while you are working. That I think Prachita will take up now and explain about that. So if you can show me one of you at least. Prisha, is it ready? See that there is enough gap between, for this to move freely. If you want to increase the hole size there, you can increase and see that it is rotating freely. Ashit, did you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you just show me once?
Ma'am, it is not ready totally.
Not ready? Okay.
Ma'am, it is not spinning.
See how I'm holding? Is there enough space for the cardboard to rotate, or is it tightly packed there? Make some space. Is it the cardboard or the sponge?
Ma'am, there's foam piece.
Foam piece.
Yes, ma'am.
Now use the cardboard.
Okay, ma'am.
Card sheet from the pencil box or anything, you know. Even from this, you can just cut this edge. Others, I'm not able to make out. Bhavini, Vinyashri, can you show me your model?
Ma'am, it's not done yet.
Ma'am, I'm not done it.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Bhaskar.
Ma'am, I'm ready with the project, ma'am, but it is actually not moving properly, ma'am. It is not moving. Like it is not fluently moving.
See if the space is enough, if the hole size is...
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The space is enough.
Okay. How are you moving it? Can you just hold it on the near the camera and show me? Are you holding it like this or like this? The ice cream stick.
Oh, ma'am, like this.
You are holding it loosely or tightly. Everything I
tightly.
told you change all those things.
You're holding it too far. You're holding it too far from the end. The fingers need to be on the ice cream stick where the pencil is, so that you can put a lot of pressure. So more than the speed that you're doing it with, it's the pressure that it's the force that you push down with that matters. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Do it. You'll be
Yes.
able to do it immediately.
So this is a long pencil. I'm not holding it here. I'm holding it here and then.
So the pencil you can hold far away, but the ice cream stick as near to the notches as possible.
Yeah, that's. Hold the ice cream stick tightly and then do like this.
Ma'am, mine is still not working.
At least
Krisha, you have to press down more. Okay. With your right hand, more than the speed, press down and do it regularly. Yeah.
Go through each notches, you know, by applying pressure and try slowly and then you increase the speed.
Show me where you're holding left hand, your pencil. Too close to the notches. Hold it right at the end. Yeah. Right hand, press down quite hard on the pencil. Yeah, and then it will still go quite quickly, but how big is the hole in your spinner? No,
Spinner.
The hole in your spinner.
The card sheet.
How big is the hole? It's very tight. It has to be at least 5 millimeters in size. You're supposed to use a puncher, paper puncher, to make that hole. If you don't have it, then put something in there. That is, it has to be very loose on the pin. I think most of you are making that mistake. Your spinner is not loose on the, where it's tight on the pin. It has to be loose. The hole has to be significantly bigger than the size of the pin, at least 0.5 centimeter in diameter.
You can use the scissor also to widen that little bit, but don't cut the card sheet. And try rotating. It should be rotating freely. It should not be holding on to the pin. Like how Abhinav showed that. Tanish also. Tanish, yeah. Try now, Prisha. See, as I said, I was wrong. I mean, you can keep the pencil at the end, at this end. Only the ice cream stick, you hold it tight and see. Is it happening, Prisha?
Ma'am, it's working now.
Okay, show me.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it working when you do it both ways or only one side?
Ma'am, both ways.
Both side?
Yes, ma'am.
If you do one side, what is happening? Is it working or not working? Will it work or not?
Ma'am, can I show mine?
Yes, Aditya. Show me, Aditya. Yes, Aditya, are you going back and forth or in only one direction?
I'm back and forth.
Back and
Back
forth.
and forth.
Okay. In which direction is it moving? You see it from your side.
Ma'am, I didn't notice.
The spinner. Is it moving in the clockwise direction or the anti-clockwise?
Ma'am, it's clockwise.
Okay. Can we change that direction?
Yes, ma'am, we can switch in other direction.
Show me then.
Ma'am, I'll try.
Tanish, is it working?
Ma'am, it works in between only. Like if I rub it, it is not working. But ma'am, in between it works when it touches the edge of the cardboard.
You concentrate and put the same type of pressure what you are doing when it is rotating. You observe how you are getting that rotation and stick to that and start putting in the same direction. See here, I'm holding the pencil here. See it from your side.
Okay, ma'am.
Your side. Okay. Abhiraj, these things we will explore. How does this spin and where is this used? You'll get to know by tomorrow. Others, I'm not getting any response. So I think Pracheta, you can conclude with the various variables and then we'll close this. I think Pracheta is there. Yeah. Pracheta, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back. The transformer just blew outside my house. So power's gone. So I'm now on the, you can see me just in daylight. Everything else is dark.
Maybe you can
yeah, I'm tethering on my phone. So hopefully the internet is stable. Are you done with your thing?
Yes, I'm not able to. Yes, Ashish?
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please once more tell the measurement of the paper?
Sorry, measurement, it's just a rectangle 4 centimeter by 1.5 centimeter.
You can try different sizes.
Yeah.
And you can then decide what are the variables. So what did we learn earlier today about the types of variables, right? So you discussed that in detail with the spray, and I'm sure Ashray showed you lots of interesting things, the stuff that we talked about, how much you can blow out or what the distance is, dependent variables, but a whole host of independent variables that you can change, right? Angle of straw, size of straw, length of straw, amount of water, amount of force you blow with, all those things are the independent variables. The same thing you have to now think about yourself, where I don't now list out those variables. Think about yourself about this pencil spinner that you have made. It's an extremely interesting toy. It's a Native American folk toy, about 200 years old. It's also called Gee Haw Whammy Diddle. Okay? Gee Haw Whammy Diddle. And G and Haw means left and right in that particular Native American language. So what the adults used to do with the children is they'd say G and get it to spin one way, then they'd say Haw and get it to spin the other way. And the child would, of course, think that they're doing some magic. So see if you can do that magic, if you can find the trick that makes it go right, and then the trick that makes it go clockwise, and the trick that makes it go anti-clockwise, and see if you can change the direction of the spinner. Very fun activity. The science behind this activity, not very simple. Just let's put it out there up front. Some people were asking about the concepts. I think you'll discover more and more about the concepts as you play with the activity. But the fact that something is shaking and then it causes circular motion, not supremely easy as a concept, but there's a lot of other variables, a lot of other things you can measure in this activity. And that's why it's important that you play with it and you identify what those changes that you can make in the activity. Even if your dependent variable is something as simple as, is it rotating or not rotating, or which direction it's rotating, right there you have your dependent variable. What are the various independent variables that you can come up with, variations that you can come up with for this particular activity to see whether it works, doesn't work, whether it rotates fast, doesn't rotate, so on and so forth. Okay. So I'll just share with you on the screen what the assignment is for tonight, so that you have that. You want to share it, Lakshmi?
Yeah, I'll just do that. You can read out from this.
Okay. I can also do it. No problem.
That also should be connected.
Yeah. So this can be seen?
Yeah, it's seen.
So this is what you have to do tonight before tomorrow's session. We had about 22 responses from you with yesterday's assignment. I hope we get an even larger participation for today's assignment. So the usual name, email ID and all is the first 3 fields, but it's a 3 question, just 3 questions. Shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes. Just 3 questions to fill out. Identify the variables in this activity, pencil spinner. What do you think are the independent variables? You can note them down here. What do you think are the dependent variables? You can note them down here. For the independent variables, let's come up with at least 5 or 6 independent variables, okay? And for dependent variables, a minimum of 2 dependent variables, right? So that will be something that is a good exercise for you. Come up with at least 5 to 6 independent variables and come up with at least 2 dependent variables, and then select any 2 of those, any 2 of your 5 or 6 independent variables, select any 2, choose to change them. Now change them one by one, don't change them both together. So change one independent variable, see what effect it has on your dependent variables. Then keep that variable constant and change the other independent variable and see what effect it has on your spinner, on your dependent variable. So basically you have to first identify all the variables that you think that you can change. You have to identify all the variables that you think you can measure, and then you have to actually play around with the independent variable to see if there's any change in the dependent variable, and choose any 2 of them and tell us what you found out, what you observed. Okay, so it's just those 3 questions that you have to fill in for tonight for this activity, which is the pencil spinner, the G, ha, whammy, diddle, right? So think of it. You might take more time to think about it than to actually write it down eventually, which is fine. You have a day, of course, to think about what could be the things that you can vary in this activity to make it work differently, and what is it that you're measuring. Okay, so if there's any questions right now about the assignment, then I'd be happy to address them. Anything? Anyone? Any doubts or questions regarding the...
Sir, can you explain the third question of today's assignment?
The third question of today's assignment is choose any of those 2 independent variables that you have identified, vary them, and see what effect it has on the dependent variables that you have identified. Okay, so for an example,
okay, sir, thank you.
For an example, an independent variable could be the direction in which I'm stroking. Okay, whatever, in forwards direction. And the dependent variable could be direction of rotation of the spinner. So you can say forward direction, whenever I'm rotating forward direction, spinner is rotating clockwise, say, as an example. So that is your observation. Now suppose I do in the backward direction, is it still rotating in clockwise direction? Okay. So if it is, then you can say that the dependent variable is independent of what I'm doing with this. So it doesn't depend on the direction of stroking. Whereas if that changes while this is changing and you can keep getting that same result, then you will say that the dependent variable is dependent on this particular independent variable. And this is how you can actually discover the concept or the working of activities like this. And this is how science has been forming theories for hundreds of years, is because people have tried to observe things. They don't know the theory. We are taught Newton's laws, but Newton himself didn't know his laws. He went and postulated that, oh, why is the apple falling to the ground? Maybe it's because there's a force between the earth and the apple. What is that force? And he actually mathematically came up with the theory and the formula. And then that has been tested by many people over 500 years. And they found that, oh, actually works quite well, what he said. Right? So this is how we can also come up with our own theories just based on our observations and what we guess to be our theory. We have to first have a prediction, a guess, and that guess can be right or wrong. And we can only find that out by doing experiments, by making variations and testing your experiment. Okay, so that's the kind of tinkering and innovating we want you to get used to, make it a habit, and do it with these simple activities. And you'll find that you end up understanding things better. Okay.
So I did not understand dependent variable in this.
You didn't listen to the first 1 hour of today?
So I listened, but I'm not able to understand in this pencil spinner. One of
What
them
are the
is
things you
speed,
can
the
measure?
dependent variable.
What are the things? I gave you an example. Direction of rotation is a dependent variable.
Yes, and can speed also be?
Yes. That's why you have to write it down. It is what you think is a dependent variable and what you think is an independent variable that you have to write down in the assignment. And then you have 2 more classes, tomorrow and day after, to talk about whether what you have written is correct or not, and to modify that. So tomorrow's class, you can talk about the question, oh, I don't understand, what is this actually? But today is whatever you think is a dependent variable, write it down. Whatever you think is an independent variable, write it down. And then do an experiment to see if you can change your functioning, change the functioning of the activity, change the dependent variable by changing an independent variable. Okay.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. Any more questions regarding the activity? I mean, the assignment? We won't be making anything more next 2 days, right? So the 2 activities that you have made, those are your 2 activities for the innovation program. Okay, but you'll be doing lots of experiments by playing around with these same activities. Then next week for the scientific literacy part of this program, you'll be doing 2 more activities. Okay. So from what I think, I don't think you need to bring any materials, right? Tomorrow and day after, just bring your activities. Is that correct, Lakshmi?
Yes, Prajita. They just have to bring their models which they have done, that's all. No other materials required. Ashit, is it working?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you just show it? How are you holding it? Even Tanish is getting it, I think. I couldn't see it properly. So just hold it little high and show me.
What, ma'am?
Just hold it little high.
Hold it in front of the camera.
Yeah.
If you hold it low, then you can never see it. Hold it at your head level. Yeah. I think the hole is still not big enough. Or you're holding the pencil too tight. Pencil should be held very loose. And the ice cream stick tight.
Okay, sir.
And pencil far away from the notches. So don't hold the pencil near the notches. Like someone's trying in Tanish's place. They're holding the pencil too close to the notch. Pencil has to be held far from the notch. And then press down hard. Use pressure to press down on the pencil. Okay.
Yeah, Tanish is also getting, I think,
yeah,
his brother.
Now they're getting rotation. Right? Yeah. Even you're getting now, huh, Prisha, very nicely, because the hole's been made bigger. One more thing you can try. Don't even do the rubbing. Just tap the pencil with your finger. Maybe that's something that will be discussed tomorrow.
Sorry, Prachita and Lakshmi, just want to let you all know that it's 4:37.
Yeah, we are done. We're just waiting for people if they have any questions.
You can stop that, yeah.
You can close the session.
Huh? Yes, Bhavini?
Ma'am, now it's working.
Working? Okay, good. Can you just turn on your video and show it once, and then we'll end the session?
Yes, ma'am.
Remember to fill the form and submit it today, all of you. Please play around and it will definitely